In a year of surprise album releases, perhaps none have been more surprising than Wednesdays by Ryan Adams. Can this fallen folk rocker recover from cancel culture? My thoughts on that and my review of his new album are coming up next on Track by Track. Hey everybody, my name's Kyle and this is Track by Track, music reviews, news, and commentary. Thanks for tuning in today, and if this is your first time here, please take a second to click subscribe so that you won't miss future reviews and more. What can I say about Ryan Adams? Well, I can say that his music absolutely dominated 2004 for me. When I discovered his 5 solo albums that spring, it was practically all I would listen to the rest of the year. I can say that his Chicago tour stop that November was one of the most crushingly disappointing concerts I've ever been to, when Adams took the stage over an hour after the opening act had finished their set and then drunkenly fumbled through half of his set before walking off mid-song to end the show. I can say that in spite of that experience, I've loved almost all of the music he's released since then, and I was happy to hear that he'd gotten sober. I can say that in 2017, when I heard Adams was in the studio with Liz Phair, another artist that I love, producing her new double album, I was super excited. And I can say that when he announced in January 2019 that he'd be releasing 3 albums that year, I was absolutely thrilled. But of course, 2019 didn't turn out to be the year Ryan Adams or his fans were hoping for. With a wave of #MeToo accusations and revelations fueling cancel culture and putting an end to a number of careers, Adams' plans were all but erased when multiple women came forward to accuse him of sexual misconduct. And not just random women, there was then up-and-coming singer-songwriter Phoebe Bridgers. There was Liz Phair, who would go on to write about how his behavior led to her comeback album plans being discarded. And there was America's sweetheart, Mandy Moore, Adams' ex-wife, whose stories about his abusive behavior during their 7-year marriage filled the headlines that February. Nearly 2 years have passed since Ryan Adams was canceled, and now in December 2020, he's trying to make his own comeback with the surprise release of a new album, Wednesdays. When the news broke about the new album, I scanned Twitter to see what the response was. Obviously, there were plenty of excited, loyal fans cheering him on, but there were also plenty of voices of dissent expressing their unabated, fervent disgust with him. As for me, well, while there's no way I would condone Adams' alleged behaviors, I'm also not a fan of cancel culture either. Popular culture has a long history of entertainers whose personal lives have been embroiled in moral controversy. I have long felt it was best to separate the art from the artist as much as possible, at least to the extent that your own conscience allows. To that end, I'm not going to debate about the allegations against Ryan Adams, nor will I debate about whether or not anyone should listen to his music. That's your personal choice. All that being said, that cloud of controversy definitely looms large over the music on Wednesdays. As raw and emotional as most of these songs are, it is very hard not to listen to them in that context. That's especially true of the opening track, I'm Sorry and I Love You. The song essentially says exactly what the title implies. For Adams, setting the arguably autobiographic intent aside, this is pretty familiar territory. He sings about how, quote, blue he is following a breakup, and professes his regret and ongoing love. No doubt that sentiment is not going to sit well with a lot of people. With a lyric like, maybe you could erase the lies with the truth, he all but begs to be raked over the coals again, deservedly so or not. But had we heard this song 5 or 10 years ago, it would have hit us in a different way. There's a tender sort of Neil Young feeling to this song that makes it feel very vulnerable. And I even hear echoes of Mind Games by John Lennon as well. Honestly, I think it's a very beautiful track, even if it is overly earnest. It's also one of the few songs we've had a preview of as far back as summer of 2019. I'm Sorry and I Love You is one of 2 songs on Wednesdays that were originally slated to be included on last year's canceled Big Colors album. Back before the controversy, Wednesdays was rumored to be the follow-up album to Big Colors, the second installment in the 2019 trilogy. Clearly, the album we've received now in late 2020 is not the same as what was planned, and I suspect the song cycle is a mix of the more, shall we say, confessional songs that were originally going to be spread across all 3 albums. The result is that Wednesdays is a painfully raw breakup album, or more to the point, a post-breakup album. Adams spends the majority of the songs doing a soul-searching post-mortem on a failed relationship. Sometimes the lyrics are so personal that it feels almost invasive to listen. The storytelling on the title song, for example, is so vivid and specific that you want to tell yourself it's fiction just so you don't feel guilty. Meanwhile, tracks like Walk in the Dark and Poison and Pain are much easier to find personal connection with, still probably mining his own experiences, but painting with broader strokes. And while the song Who Is Going to Love Me Now If Not You may be another track that will rub some people the wrong way, there's some really gorgeous songwriting going on here. Lines like, "Now I'm just a stranger in a house with things I cannot throw away," really drive home the heartbreak of the lyrics. There's also some beautiful songwriting going on with Dreaming You Backwards. It's one of the best breakup songs I've heard in a while and one of my favorite moments on the album. This is actually the other song after I'm Sorry and I Love You that was originally on the Big Colors track list. On Wednesdays, it finds a new home as the closing track. There's a bit of a John Mayer feeling to this song, which is especially noticeable on the guitar solo. But there's also a bit of a dated feeling in the production here that gives the song more of an 80s vibe than I think I prefer. Not every song on Wednesdays is a depressing breakup song, though. Some of them are depressing songs about death. Sorry, but it's true. And I don't mean to use the word depressing in a pejorative way. It's just the depth of emotion Adams taps into on pretty much all of these songs. On When You Cross Over, we get a heartbreaking story of loss that I simultaneously hope is fact and fiction. There's some vivid imagery here that makes me believe it is based on a real experience. I have a feeling this one will hit some listeners pretty hard, depending on what they've been through in their own lives. And after all, there's been a lot of loss in 2020. Then on Mama, we get what feels like the most personal song on the album, with lyrics that seem to mourn the loss of his brother while also questioning his mother's role in that outcome. I don't know what Ryan Adams' personal family history is, and if this is really based on actual events, but there's definitely some uncomfortable moments in this song that make you side-eye a bit and wonder, what's up with that? The one song on the album that may feel out of place, if only slightly though, is Birmingham. On this album, it's a breakup song, but on its own on any other playlist, it's not anywhere near as dark. Coming in the middle of this song cycle, it's a welcome reprieve, actually. Birmingham is easily the most up-tempo song on the album, if not the only up-tempo song. It kind of sounds like something Adams might have included on his albums Easy Tiger or Ashes and Fire. There's a very Dylan-esque feeling to the song from both the lyrics and the instrumentation. I really love the organ accents and solo on this track. I haven't seen the credits for this album yet, but I suspect that's Benmont Tench of the Heartbreakers, who was previously announced to be contributing to Adams' new music. Really good stuff here. Overall, Wednesdays is arguably one of Ryan Adams' most cohesive albums, and that's both a blessing and a curse. The song cycle is unquestionably a deeply personal exploration of several kinds of heartbreak. It's far from a feel-good album, so you may need to be in a certain mood to want to pull this one out. For that reason, I suspect I won't revisit the album as often as I do many of the other entries in his discography. But that's certainly not a negative criticism. On the contrary, I think that's a testament to how effectively the album explores its subject matter. So I'm giving Wednesdays by Ryan Adams an X rating of 7 out of 10. It's bound to be a controversial release to some, and I get that. But all things considered, I think this is the album Ryan Adams needed to release for many, many reasons. Once again, my name's Kyle, and this has been Track by Track. If you like this video, please be sure to give it a thumbs up. Plus, check out some of these other videos below that I think you might also enjoy. And of course, be sure to click subscribe, because true music fans always want new releases the day they come out. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.